Well, I performed my Ron Jeremy, the musical, last night, and it went absolutely wonderfully. I have to say, the audience adored it. I wore my spectacles in public for the first time since I was 4, and I found it freeing and enlightening, and also less painful on the eyes because I didn't have to squint, which is for the good, really, because when I squint, it looks like I'm upset. Where in fact, I am a little bit upset because my eyes hurt because I'm squinting, because I can't see. I also just saw on YouTube, although I knew this before, that chappie Keith Flint died. Did he? Did he? I liked him. He was, I don't know, entertaining. He was the perfect person to do the job for that band. Punk rock spirit. What a drag. How did he die? Was it suicide? I hope not. Drugs? Oh my God, I should look into that. Well, I liked him. Yeah. Old school punk rock spirit like that. It's good to see. Good to see the upper classes are getting onto it as well. God knows when I was at Eton, it was all the rage. Most of the monarchy are GBH and Discharge fans. Charles is heavily down with the Exploited. Watty and him had a romantic relationship for another number of years, actually. So Watty broke it off. He found Charles rather vulgar. In case you don't know, Watty is the lead singer slash largactal and line, laryngital, lunatic, and frontman of the Exploited, who, my friend told me, actually appeared on Top of the Pops while being on the dole. And they actually got reported. The local dole officer saw them on Top of the Pops and had to, I don't know if they actually got cut off. You know, that would be a bit bad etiquette. I mean, it's just not British, really, is it? I mean, I remember when I was on the dole in between aristocratic gigs. He would be on the dole line, and some chap would show up in his paint overalls covered in paint and plaster, sign his unemployment UB40, and bugger off again, back to work in the world of unemployed work, which is work where you get paid, but for some reason you still refer to yourself as unemployed, at least in a government subsidized way anyway. That was Thatcherism. And I mean, they were just entrepreneurs in a way, weren't they? Just following her instigation. Looking out for number one. No such thing as society. You know? Although she was misquoted as that. I had an intense hatred for Mrs. T back in the day. Now, I still retain much of that, but I've grown curiously sexually attracted to her. Is that wrong? What is going on with me? I mean, and also this is really bizarre, but Theresa May. Why do I find her attractive? I don't. It goes back to the Princess Anne thing. I think I referred to it earlier, one of my dialogues. I don't even like posh women. So why the hell would I like them? No, unemployed and working in Iceland. That's my thing. For those of my foreign listeners, Iceland, not the country, but the frozen food supermarket. In Britannia, there is a supermarket called Iceland, where everything they sell is frozen. In a bit of marketing genius, they came up with that. I think many of the people that shop there have trouble grasping more complex bits of information than ice and the land of ice, where I can get frozen pizzas, which I live off of for the next 6 months. No, I'm not sneering at the poor. I'm downright contemptuously criticizing them for being poor and being ugly and fat. Of course, when the rich are ugly and fat and not intelligent, well, it's just part of being British. But when the poor are fat, ugly, and intelligent, well, that's something to be reviled at all cost. Who's a really fat, ugly? Jeremy Clarkson's fat and ugly, has horrible teeth, a face like a constipated bloodhound. But he revels in it, you know, he celebrates his own hideousness. So good on him. Then there's a thing I wanted to discuss actually. I keep wondering if I keep talking about these things before, but there's a phenomena amongst how human beings relate to each other where they tend to form small family groups that go like this. You'll have the alpha male, you'll have his non-threatening sidekick, and then the smaller nerdy one that everyone picks on, and then the more quiet, unobtrusive one. Now this occurs very often in popular culture. The most obvious example is, of course, Top Gear. But there's a lot more, and it goes back in history. Top Gear, you've got the alpha gay male of Jeremy Clarkson. You've got his Mama Bear of James May. And you've got Baby Bear of Richard Hammond, who's the nerdy one they all pick on. And then you've got the unobtrusive, quiet one, is a Stig. Now, where else does this occur? Well, let's look at the Beatles. You've got Daddy Bear, John Lennon, Mummy Bear, Paul, Baby Bear, Ringo, even though he's the oldest of a lot of them, and the quiet one, Georgie Porgy. Where else do we find this? The Rat Pack. Remember them? Frank Sinatra, Daddy Bear. Dean Martin, Mummy Bear. Sammy Davis Jr., Baby Bear. Peter Lawford, the one no one's ever actually heard of, is a silent, unobtrusive chap. The Stig, the George Harrison of the Rat Pack. Now, where the hell else do we go with this? And it's a little family unit. It's very appealing to watch the dynamics. You've got the alpha gay male idiot chap at the top. Well, Jeremy Clarkson, Frank Sinatra, John Lennon. Then you've got the nice conciliatory one. I mean, it's James May conciliatory, sort of. Is James? Well, you can see it though. I think you can see there's an element of. It's definitely in height relationships. Although Sinatra was little, but he wasn't as little as Sammy Davis. Sammy Davis Jr. Now, they would say lots of racial slurs about Sammy Davis, but at least they actually had him as a friend, which was kind of revolutionary back then, because you weren't allowed to, because society's norms were incredibly, well, racist. There's no other word to describe it. I mean, the American South was basically apartheid state. But that was then. This is now. Things have changed. So maybe, bringing that up all the time is not helping things, really. And when Frank Sinatra, he had Sammy Davis let him into his exclusive club. It was the same with Elvis doing his thing. It was the first step to integration. And then when the Beatles let Ringo in, it was the first step to having what does Ringo represent? He did look like Yasser Arafat for a while, but not so much anymore. Perhaps Hamas? Well, then again, I heard that Ringo was really upset when the American hostages were referred to their ISIS captors as the Beatles because they had English accents. He said that ISIS in no way was the polar opposite of everything the Beatles stood for, which I thought was a bit rich. I mean, go easy on ISIS for Christ's sake. Jesus Christ, Ringo. You know, stay woke, brother. I mean, first it's ISIS. Who's else? Who's next? Who's next? Is he going to start denigrating? Al Qaeda. What happened to them anyway? Did that group split up as well? Did what's his name? Sheikh Mohammed. Did a Yoko figure come along? Who was the Yoko figure in Al Qaeda? They broke up the band of brothers. Maybe that's why Bin Laden was living on that compound. He had some sort of arty-farty avant-garde Islamist Salafist bird showed up. He fed head over heels with her. And, they were planning various, incidents, I think they're called in the media, terrorist attacks. And, this avant-garde Islamist Salafist, she was always sitting in a bag. Well, she already was in a bag anyway, just like Yoko Ono as well. So there's not much difference really. But she was doing a lot of her avant-garde Islamist stuff, like what kind of stuff did they do? Well, they're already sitting in the bag. Oh, is that being hurtful? Well, sort of. It's very similar. I mean, unless you probably don't know this, but Yoko Ono, when John Lennon would perform in the early 70s, Yoko Ono would be sitting in a bag at the front of the stage at the Albert Hall as a statement of being in a bag. It's whatever you want to think of it. It's Yoko Ono is in a bag while John plays some Chuck Berry numbers. So there's a lot of resonance there amongst everyone, Chuck Berry playing with John Lennon, and Yoko Ono is in a bag. It's a relationship between the Chuck Berry numbers and the bag, and Yoko Ono being in the bag. I mean, it's up to your own interpretation. I mean, I'm not going to spell everything out to you, but to me, it's abundantly clear what the message was. But I'm not going to tell you because you don't know. So there you go. Don't blame me, blame yourself. Okay, well, that's enough.